Let me just make sure this is recording correctly. Okay, it is. Alright, so guess who's back? I am! Haha! And it's not my microphone that sounds bad, it's my voice. You're welcome. So today we'll be talking about the new component update. This video is so late, but let's just get right into it. Okay, so I've already made a lot of changes, like a ton of changes. It's been a while since I talked to you guys. Long story short, last time I talked to you guys, I've been saving GEC. CPUs rolled around, and I maxed it out. So that is good. Not trying to brag, but that was a big deal. Been learning for that, so I got a maxed out CPS. That's cool. I made some changes to my Anansis, so kind of go over my fleet, and with my fleet, explain what changed, what that means to you, and how to work with the changes. So the component, at least these are for post matrix servers. So I'll talk about the actual change itself, component production, and then also how that applies to later servers that actually have matrix, and of course these lovely, beautiful 195 weapons that are very, very fancy. Look fancy. I mean, you know, it's just pictures on the screen, but they look fancy. Are they fancy? That's the question we have to ask ourselves, and the answer is we don't really know. We're testing them out. Anyway, so let's go over to component. What is component production? This is the main screen you're going to see. I'm on my computer, so it looks a little bit different, but the screen's the same. So here's the important thing. What matters now is that you have to get the base weapon if you want to upgrade it. So like, let's say you have a ship and you need Sphinx, right? This is a kinetic Gauss cannon, well, kinetic weapon, and then, okay, I want this. Don't worry about all this right now. I'll explain in a second. So to get to this, though, you usually have to, so let's say to get to this, you have to put in the earlier rate weapon. So like if you want a kinetic, you have to get a kinetic weapon. So you have that, and then you have however many, however many alloy you need to get it. So in this case, though, don't worry about this. That's not relevant. So like this is how much it is if you just want to make it by itself. So I don't know, they haven't gotten this yet. We actually don't know where it is from, so we're not going to worry about it right now. So this number, it's not 32, it's like 300. I wish I had one that I could show y'all. What do I have? Yeah, okay, so let's confirm this. Okay, so it's just 32 then. Huh, I guess maybe lower the price or something. Well, that's good. Anyways, I'll have to double check that. That's cool. Lose my mind? If I do it, what happens? No, okay, so you need this. Okay, so let's... Okay. Anyway, so most people will be using the screen, but I'm just not explaining how it works. Usually you don't need this, it'll just up this price more. But the long and short of it is, if you want something up here, this has been like gouging all of the 195 players, all the Matrix players, you need to, so basically, okay, for you, save up whatever weapon you want to have for your fleet. Beforehand, we would just say if it was, if it wasn't 156, if it was anything down here, just scrap it for the alloy and save it for Starry. They got rid of Starry. That's super annoying, but they did. So now, if you want to get, let's say, another 195, if you don't have this or this, it's going to cost you like 1,000 alloy material, like 700 or something crazy. So now you want to pull as much from black market to get a higher rate, so they don't have to spend as much. So like instead of starting at 0, you could start at 125, which is like probably half. Or I don't think you can pull for these yet, so you still have to work up to get to here. So it's 600 no matter what you do. But the basic advice to everyone now is basically pull and keep what you want to upgrade. And by the way, the game does not care. These are they're different weapons, but for this, there's only one kind. You just takes either one. And that also is an issue as well, because you can't get certain weapons anymore. You have to just get it outright. Like this, for instance, you can no longer upgrade to this, so you have to like keep this out of pocket with this, which doesn't even really exist anywhere yet. So that's annoying. So they also basically removed access to a lot of weapons. Like, so that one's fine. I guess you can get that one. Not get this anymore. You don't know where this is from. You have to pay through the nose to get it. Everything else up here is fine. Yeah, so, but for weapons isn't a big deal. The problem is, so Yeah, so that's how component works. Now, most people won't be seeing this screen. They'll be inside their fleets. And, well, hold on, probably what I do here is my max stuff. Let's go over here. Let's see what I have in here. Oh. Let's take these as an example. So, like, you know, if you have a small weapon, you want to promote it, you would just go through here, and that's the alloy you need. So it uses this one and promotes it. So you need 50 of this. So that's kind of how it works. That's a screen, and it gives you stuff back. So most people will be here. That applies also to any sort of gold component like this. So that's the amount of alloy it needs, and we upgrade it. So again, 125 is good because it only can take 150 plus, I think it's 200, so it takes you 350 to get to R195, which isn't bad. But if you have R100, it takes 90 plus 150. So that's like 240 just because you have R100. Anyway, so basically keep everything, and then if you already have a 125, you can scrap all the 100s to get the alloy. That's basically the only way to get this, because that's the only way to even get alloy nowadays, because they took everything away. I don't know why they're special. So that's kind of how component production works. You can now, this was always, you can never even get this, so now you can do that now. It's not really worth it, but it's a good stepping stone to R195. And sadly, I don't think this even drops anymore, so you have to go through and get to this for FL size. So that's that, man. Yeah, they got rid of Starry, so this is the only way to get anything. That's super, super mean and super annoying, but it's the way that it is for now. So again, if you want the fancy 195 accuracy thing, you gotta do it from 100. Because you can't get it anywhere else. There is no others. It's just base. You can't get this anymore from Starry or from drops. So this is a 195 unit, so you have to go from the basic 100 because they don't even drop 125. So just to get an accuracy unit, it's going to take you so much alloy. It's going to take forever. So that's, I'm sorry, that's the way that it is. So that's kind of how component production kind of works. That's the basic to keep in mind, is try and pull and keep the right. So you want a high rate equipment. You want high rate equipment that's closer to what you want to get. So 125, you want to keep this because you can promote it and get to here instead of having to, you know, start from lower. Like, for example, this is 100, 125. I want to get to 156. Start from here. Don't use this. Obviously, impossible. And then, you know, scrap everything that's 100 if you have 125 or 121. Okay, so that's the basic. That's the component overview basics. Engines are the same way as well. Obviously, a large takes a lot more than a medium. So let's talk about 195. So they released 195. That was a big deal. That kind of like people are wondering, is that, you know, put a dent in all the arms race stuff we've saved for now that that stuff's out? And the answer is not really. I have an arms race, not exactly, but something like that. Medic weapon here, and obviously this is still going to do the most damage. 9,000 DPS. It hasn't had as much accuracy as 195, but it's not even close. So this is over probably 70% better, like compared to levels. So let's see, 50% of this is 25, it's 7. It's probably about the same, actually. No, this is 9. So 7 to 9 is, it's like 20% better than. This has more accuracy, however, a lot more accuracy. So let's kind of talk about that real quick. So 195, this is the kinetic 195 weapon. Most people will be looking at this one. The biggest thing about 195 is the increased accuracy, and that they're all 1 second kinetics. That's a big deal. The accuracy is over, I think it's like 800 or something like that. So the accuracy gain is going to be the biggest part of this. So let's see, it's 2.8. Oh, it says right there. So it's 2.8, so that's 2, 3. So it's at least 1,000. So it's like 1,300 accuracy increase. That is huge. That is a big deal. So the biggest part of 195 is going to be the accuracy increase. The accuracy increase is the biggest deal on these. The damage is higher, but it's not crazy. We're within, you know, this is going to end up being about 6,500, I think, maxed out. I'll have to double check, but that's not much higher than speeds. But the accuracy, though, that's the biggest deal here. That's why I recommend going to 195 if you can. So as you can see, I already put a lot of effort into getting my 195s. And I actually don't have any other. Here we go. That's not max. Up we go. Let's see. So that's like, so 258. Let's do 258, 3870. So this is going to be 3870 once it reaches the max level. So 3870 versus 411. So 387, 411. It's like 500 more, so it's not a whole lot more, but again, the accuracy is the biggest deal here. So as you can see, I already got most of my size M's upgraded from the 156, which I think they're all gone. This is the 156. To promote them, well, let's just go there to show you how much that costs. It's not very much, which is why I recommend doing that. If you have a lot of alloy saved up, I think most people have around 1,000 or so, but this was pretty cheap considering what you got for it. So I just burned through much of my alloy to get to this. So that's kind of an overview about what they look like. So that's my recommendation. Unless you are, let's say, a player who spends money or has a ton of alloys or a lot of ships, I recommend just kind of sticking with the M sizes because you'll get the most. It's a little more optimal for your bang for your buck, right? Because it's cheaper to upgrade an M than it is an L. That's one of the biggest things. So you'll get more M's out of the available L's, and especially if you have, like, again, my Anansis. My Anansis give size M weapons 200% more damage. So it makes sense that instead of wasting it on L's, I would just do all the M's. That's what I did here. And naturally gives me a lot more accuracy and more damage as well. But I did the same thing with the M's over here. I had one of these just for a test. So let's kind of talk quickly about Bettencourts. So as it turns out, Bettencourts will still do the most DPS, even, I think, just barely even over a max Eagle Ghost cannon. So anyways, if you don't have Bettencourts, these are still fantastic investments. Don't waste your GEC on them, but they're still great investments because they will last a very, very long time for anyone who's in pre-matrix. So wait till you get Bettencourts, and I do recommend grinding them out. Don't spend GEC on it, just grind them out. I have plenty of them, and I'm really happy I do because they have survived me a long, long time. And if you want, you can still destroy these and get alloy out of them, but they still do more damage. This is a better weapon because of the accuracy, and they're 1 seconds, but this still does a little more damage. They're still plenty viable, even in 195 age for now. Let's kind of talk about 195 armor. They look pretty, and that's pretty much it. I mean, they're just better versions of what you got already. So let's see, this is 195 resistance on the armor, so let's see. Yeah, so this is just the difference between the two here. No, this is a This is the same here. So 827, 928, 10,000 more health. That's like a 20% increase. Yeah, it's like a 25% increase in resistance and 20% increase in health. So that's helpful, and that's really good for Anansis, of course. Of course, sadly, you can't upgrade. You can't get the health versions of stuff. So, like, for instance, I was just looking at it, actually. One of these. Yes, this is a HP focused version, a health version of the armor. You can't get that anymore. It'll just give you, like, you can get the, okay, if you already have a high HP armor, you can get the 195 version of it. But there's no way to get this anymore. There's no way. You can't get it anymore. So, unless of course you have the basic alloy, which doesn't really exist yet for whatever reason. So let's keep in mind. So basically, don't scrap your high HP stuff. You can promote your high HP stuff. It's probably worth it. That's like a 25, not 100% increase in base health and resistance. So that's really high. So I recommend doing that if you need that for your builds. Okay, so here's the biggest thing about 195, and that is the units. Why? This is why. Because it gives you a lot more health, HP. So this changes almost everything. Because the Anansis were used to be super, super weak because they didn't have much armor or resistance, but also because they didn't have much health. I mean, everything else, Dreadnoughts, battleships had way more health pool. That becomes a limiting factor at later levels. But now, because of 195, we can stack and get a lot more health. So I get 37,000 HP, which goes through all the bonuses as well. So it's now a lot higher than it was before. A great example as well as the Anansis is this gives health, and so does this one. So what does that mean for you? When upgrading units, focus on, don't worry about small ones. It's not worth the game. If you promote these, you're not getting much else. And it's so small, it's not, and something else too is, I'll talk about that later, but basically, with upgrading stuff, Don't worry about small accuracy or things like that. It's not worth any health, and you don't think you get health gain from 195. So focus on your accuracy. If you get higher accuracy, you'll also get the HP bonus, and that is a game changer for so many builds. So 195 units, they give you extra health. That is huge because it allows ships like Anansi, maybe even perhaps a Constellation, to live longer than they would otherwise. Now, officially, we don't recommend Constellations. They still die way too quickly, but if you're wondering or if you have it, it's something to think about and consider if that's all you have. It is something that could help. But they still die too quickly, so the official advice is to use the Constellations, they just die. There was the same for Anansis, but this is a lot better and a lot closer. They also, I'll talk more about them later, but talking about 195 right now. So, your accuracy systems, go for it. They give you more HP, and that's something to think about as well, is you have to go through 2 levels. So for this, you have to go through 1 level. So if you have Blackbirds, most people do, promoting that will give you the HP bonus. So that's good. However, they never released 156 accuracy units to give you HP. However, so for, like these, we never got 156 accuracy units. So you have to promote it twice. So promote it once. This right here it's got more accuracy, but it's not useful. It's not a big deal because you want this one. Because this will get you the health pool. So if you have medium, most people only have these. You have these, you have to promote it twice. It's worth it to promote it twice. That's like 300 alloy, I think. It's 150 for this one. I think it's either 150 or 200 for the next one. If you're trying to maximize a build, it's worth it to go twice than just once. Because you will not be getting the HP bonus with just 156. So keep that in mind as well when saving. That's mostly it. They don't have any 195 like small resistance units. They don't exist. So this is all you're gonna get for now. So that should be most of 195. Obviously, one of the biggest things as well is our engines. They're absolutely worth it. You're gonna need it for the energy. And I'll talk to you about that in like 10 seconds. But so yeah, cool. So it's not a big difference, but you need it if you want to have the energy needed to have all this extra stuff. And that's a lot of energy. Like, that's a huge jump. What's that? That's like 50% more. That's crazy. Yeah, so definitely save your molten alloy for a large. So yeah, I do recommend don't upgrade your mediums unless you have to. Your medium engines. Just try and upgrade the large because you need it for your most dreadnoughts use a large, and most ships that need the 195 weapons or units are usually big ships such as dreadnoughts, and so it makes sense to invest in a large, not a medium. But you can invest in medium if you have extra, of course. I'm not telling you like specifically what to do, but it's just smarter to do that because the meta is going over them. So let's talk about. Let's talk about. I had a few things to talk about next. Let's talk about Anansis versus Nubes real quick. Talk about the meta first. Talk about the meta first, and I'll explain how that has to do with Nubes versus Anansis. Okay. So the meta has been shifting away from. So the long story short is, once you get into Matrix, and farther along Matrix, certain ships become less and less viable. Like, for instance, destroyers, I don't care how nice they are, they're useless because they will die super, super quickly. You look at this and it dies. I have nothing on this, but if I did a lot on it, it would still die in a second. So is that useful? Now that Sec has come out, Sec is a battleship bow. What that means now is the meta has shifted from cruisers more towards battleships because now a lot of newbies, they get more damage and a lot more health. These right here. And these are cheap. So the meta has shifted away from destroyers early on, that's obvious, but now it's even shifted away from cruisers, especially before 195. So now it's back into like newbies because they're cheap, they do a lot of damage, and with Sec and certain builds, they are becoming meta. And even that's going to go away because now so many dreadnoughts and larger ships are doing so much more damage. The meta is even becoming more dreadnought. So the meta is moving away from small ships. That's my point. However, the meta also has been evasion as the standard tanking. So a lot of tank ships, they don't really focus too much on resistances or armor. Of course, you have to have them, but the biggest tanking factor is evasion. So how does that play in with the Anansis and newbies? Okay, so there was an argument being said that, oh, well, you should go for newbies because they have sec and they're much stronger than Anansis in general, and that's true. However, there are two things now to think about with this update. The first thing is that in the evasion meta, which is also a battleship meta, but in an invasion meta, Anansis will do more damage than newbies. Hands down. They do a lot more damage because their skill, a lot of damage, it doesn't miss. They already have a lot of damage to make up for their small size, and also because of 195, they have increased health and resistances. It doesn't make it as strong as newbies, but it certainly does close the gap extremely. So if you have a Cepheus, your Anansis are still viable. Someone in our RFC server did a test back to back, and it's basically about the same as far as damage and lifetime between Anansis and newbies. I think his Anansis were chipped. One of mine is chipped, but by and large, if you have a Cepheus or you're still going for an Anansi build, it's no longer trash. It's still definitely possible. I mean, if you're a free-to-play player or don't have a lot of money, Anansis are still a valid and useful build, especially with 195, that gives them that much-needed health pool. So that is a good thing. Your Anansis are still useful for a little while. The way the meta is looking, though, it won't last for very long because, I mean, I'm only speculating, but the meta has always shifted away from these smaller ships because they just don't have enough health. Even 1 million health seems like a lot nowadays, but for whales and people that have a lot of money, 1 million is, it's not as strong as 1.5 or 2 million. And so, again, you'll become a point where it's not about the damage, but it's also about how long things last. Have 1 million damage, die in 2 seconds, doesn't matter. But the good news is that for now, Anansis is still viable because 195 gives them health. That is good. So they're about on par with newbies if you're still wanting to go for either one. And they, of course, synergize with the CPS and, the rest of the cruiser benefits. So let's go back to the meta thing. So here's one of the things to think about, too, is the meta is now becoming, in general, battleships and dreadnoughts. Because of Star Patroller and newbies. And as well, of course, as Augustus and Aether and Cepheus. So the meta is now becoming battleship. But it also means there's been some counter builds with things such as the Aether. Because the Aether especially hurts right here, battleships and dreadnoughts. So this kind of goes back to what you should invest in. This is just a small note about investing. If you're in pre-matrix or you're looking at stuff, if you want to waste GEC on something, I mean, it really shouldn't be these either, but an Aether is not a bad idea. Because there are still plenty of whale top-tier fleets that use Aether. And Aether's available all the way in near the beginning of this game. So it's just a quick note. Because the meta is shifting towards battleships and dreadnoughts, this thing does extra damage towards them, and it's useful. Now, of course, it's also dreadnought, so it also gets hurt from it, but it's something to think about because this thing is starting to shine a little bit more because of the meta shift. And that kind of affects other things. And even this Constellation, which, again, is, if you're being technical, or if like the official recommendation is it's useless, it's dumb, it sucks, it dies, it's not worth it. Yes, true. But also has that massive boost towards damage with battleships and dreadnoughts. So, the one thing too is it's cheap. You're free to play, you have in the back, even if you get a few shots off, it might do a lot of damage. Even in my own, I'll show you my logs, I think in a second, but in my own testing, this thing's got nothing on it, and it lasts long enough to do a little bit of damage. It's not much, but if it's cheap, it does fit against the meta. Again, the official advice is don't bother. Doesn't matter if it doesn't matter how much damage it does or how much. Doesn't matter. This is 1,000% because it'll die in 2 seconds. Very true. But it's something to think about for the more average player who try to be thrifty, save on things. These are cheap, and they will fit against the meta. Something to think about. Same thing with Aether. So I just want to point that out because the meta is shifting towards battleships and dreadnoughts for right now. Things that are against battleships and dreadnoughts now have a lot more effectiveness, such as the Constellation and the Aether, and I think the Nero as well. Yeah. Nero is still not fantastic. It's not really worth working at, but if you have it, you know, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's not really recommended because you just save for something better. So that's the biggest thing. That's basically the end of this update, really. Thank you all for watching. I did want to mention too, like with Aether, you can put your Aether. I was thinking about getting rid of the KF and put the Aether in to support the Anansis. That's also a valid idea as well. Something to think about. I think that's about it. If you have any questions or any comments, feel free to leave a comment. So I did want to mention one thing too. This is the Anansi build. So a lot of people have Anansi fleets. And they're like, okay, well, 195 builds around. What should I do to upgrade it? So this right here is my recommended optimal build if you want to keep your same engine. A lot of people, like I said, I recommended that you use your alloy on size Ls because size Ls will be useful down the line as the meta goes towards battleships and dreadnoughts. So don't waste your alloy on a size M engine unless you just have a ton of them. I just don't recommend it. You can, but I don't recommend it. So save it, use it on the L. Okay, so we have that done. So you want to stick with this version, 156 M engine with your Anansis. But you want to have, like, you know, with my energy, what can I do? This is the fix for that. So change all your M slots to 195 weapons. Change your M slot on armor, whether resistance or actual armor, to 195 as well. It'll give you a little bit extra boost. And then this isn't the right one, but here. This one has 195 accuracy and 195 medium accuracy. So 2 accuracies. This is a single. This is pretty easy to get to. It's just 156 reactor. It's not too hard to get, I don't think. So that way, because I tried running 2 small reactors, so I have 2 of these here, and I didn't like it. I went back and forth. This is the best build. So you can use this. So I run a resistance unit. You can actually promote this. I just don't have the alloy for it. This will still work. So 2 energy. You have 2 energy left to make this work. So this is good as well. You can. So I would recommend using this. I recommend copy this build down. You don't have to. That's what I recommend. It's efficient. It fits inside of this M armor and gives all the best benefits. So you still have high accuracy, and you can you can get more accuracy by using another one of these, or you can trade this out for a kinetic. Now, I don't recommend updating this for 2 reasons. One, it's not worth it. I have them. I got rid of them. It's not worth it. It's really not worth it. I had 3 of them. I had one up all the way up to 195. The accuracy gain is a joke, and they take so much more energy. When you have an energy cap such as this, right? Stuck with this, and you have to think about energy. This is absolutely not worth it. So I'm recommending to you, do not waste your time upgrading, promoting this to another, to a higher rate. Just don't bother. It's not worth the alloy. It's not worth the fluid. It's not worth it. I know you think 20 is worth nothing, so don't bother. Keep this. You can, so instead of wasting your energy on this, waste it on this. You'll get a little bit extra resistances and a kinetic beta. So this is kind of the recommended. This is the recommended build, right? So let's go over that again. So you can keep your same 156 engine. Keep all your regular 156 weapons, except upgrade all your M's to 195s. Recommend doing that. It'll give you the best bang for your buck. Keep these the same, so it's resistance, and then do the armor. So 195 size M armor. Recommend that. Then of course you have 195 accuracy, 195 fire control. Remember, you have to upgrade this twice to get to it. Just once is not good enough. You need to do it twice because it's just 125. You can leave this by itself because there's no point upgrading it. You need the energy. This is your energy unit, so you actually have room for all this stuff. And this can be either another one of these for 400 more accuracy, or you can promote this or use this one and get higher kinetic resistances, which I recommend. So that is the Anansi 195 Retrofit using the same engine. Keep that in the back of your head because it's really useful. I'll put time test for all these things in the description. That's really honestly about it. I don't have much more for you guys. I hope to be making a video every week. I think about one ship, like do a ship of the week kind of thing. So we kind of talk about it, its history, if it's good to keep, good to have, things like that. So be on the lookout for that. If I decide to do it, I hope so. But that's basically the end of it. So thank you all for watching. Y'all have a good day.